Apologies for the light fixture, but no one ever said I was super high budget with any of this. And I don't have a recording studio, so we're just gonna do this in my dining room. I figure it'd be more fun that way anyway. BenQ sent me this monitor, EX3415R. It is a 34-inch 144 hertz 1440p ultra wide that the folks over at BenQ decided they wanted to send me in order to give them an honest review of it. They told me that the monitor was mine to keep, so full disclosure, this was a gift. I will do my damnedest to make sure that that does not influence my opinion of the monitor, but I figured it would be good to start here, do a little bit of an unboxing, and then provide you guys with what I think the packaging looks like. And then we'll set it up in the studio, the actual studio where I have, you know, monitors and stuff, and we'll see what happens with it. Okay? Okay, I took a second and I took the tape off, and I can tell you at first that the packaging here feels solid. There isn't any section here that has give. They obviously filled this thing right to the corners with foam. Nothing looks compacted, nothing got really beat up, and now that I've moved the tape, we can open it up and see. Now I've got my gimbal here with me, and you can see it has a little bit of a clamshell style of design. Here's all the pieces and parts. So let me get this camera set up in a way that we can actually look at the box, and we'll take a look at it together. And here's the inside of the box. So first up, we have a quick installation guide that shows how to assemble all the parts and was slightly edited, as you can see, by my cat. So props to Oreo for deciding that she was gonna shred the corners of this a little bit. Next up, we have an HDMI cable, DVI cable, our power cord, power supply with our looks like a DC converter, a remote control, which is pretty sweet, USB cable, and then we have our mounting hardware, along with extended manual and warranty information, then the feet. We even have a slate section here that says to pick up, and then underneath we have our mounting arm. Finally, the display. I gotta say, the packing job for this is fantastic. Everything is packaged super tightly, looks really, really good. You can tell that they actually care about the packaging of the monitor and everything. This is the display. There are a few things about this that I like and a few things that, well, really just one thing that I kind of have a question mark about, and it could just be me being nitpicky, but we'll get there. So first up, BenQ wanted me to recognize that there is this speaker bar, and there is also a subwoofer on the back where the sound system has been manufactured by Trevolo. Now, I haven't heard a set of PC speakers in a very, very long time that I thought sounded very good. So I'm very curious to see what this speaker bar and what the subwoofer sounds like. I do like that there is an HDR button. I do like that the monitor goes all the way to the edge with this very slim line, kind of almost borderless feel to it. There are a set of controls on the bottom that I think are also very nice, kind of tucked away. It looks very slimline, very low profile. So aesthetic-wise, I do like it a lot. Now there is one other piece with this, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to get this in frame or not. So right under my hand, right here where I'm pointing, in the corner, if you look, you can see that sheen right there, it's a little bit shiny in that corner. So on the corners, what it looks like is the glass itself, the glass panel goes all the way to the corner, kind of like on this sharpened edge. But the filter that goes over the monitor's surface in order to diffuse the panel so that we can see it with our own eye is actually rounded off slightly and doesn't actually go to the full corner. So this is me, again, just being nitpicky, but as somebody that notices those little things, that to me looks like it should have been a better manufactured corner. Now, again, probably has nothing to do with performance. It's more or less just an aesthetic preference. It's just, again, me being nitpicky. So from here, what I want to do is I'm going to set this up on the desk, get a game going. Maybe we'll play New World or something that can really take advantage of having an ultra wide, or maybe we'll do some Star Citizen or something, and I'll set up a camera and we'll be able to take a look at it and see what we think. Okay? All right. So I think what I want to do for the purpose of this video is to compare it to how my experience has been with this Samsung CLG70. Now this is a 16:9 curved 32-inch IPS. What they use is a QLED panel, which is what Samsung is notorious for, 144 hertz 1440p display, which is exactly what the ultra-wide is, with the exception of BenQ's display is HDR400, the same as this, but with the borderless aspect of it being slightly more aesthetically pleasing, in my opinion, than what this display is. That one is also ultra-wide, which I have never used before. So it's going to be a good comparison, I think, between the two. Okay, so when I am sitting at my desk, one of the things that I want to make sure of is that I have good posture. Posture is important because when you're sitting at your desk, you want to make sure that you're not wearing out your shoulders, you're wearing out your back, because you can get things like mouse shoulder or what's called upper cross syndrome, which is derived from people that are constantly leaning over like this, staring into their computer screens. So in order to maintain good posture, a lot of that has to do with monitor height. Now, when I have my typical monitor setup, the Samsung monitor that I use sits with its top about here, which you can see that it sits usually up about here, slightly higher than this display on the left. This display on the right is typically for Twitch chat, so who cares? But my main display, and I'm a tall guy, I'm 6'4" tall, so my main display, when I'm sitting here, I typically need it to be a little bit higher in height. So when I look at something like this with an appropriate desk height so that my arms are resting comfortably on my armrests and I'm maintaining what is supposed to be good posture while entertaining others and engaging in a gaming session, I typically need to have a monitor that is able to be mounted slightly higher. This monitor is currently sitting at the highest allowable height that the stand that comes with it will allow for. So in order to be able to get this to an appropriate height for my height, I need a different setup. I need to be able to get this monitor higher. So logic would dictate what we would do is we would mount it to this 3-arm monitor mount using a VESA bracket that typically comes with the monitor arm. The problem is I can't use this bracket because the mounting screws and where they are located are recessed into the body of this monitor, which means that in order to be able to do what I want to do with this, I need a riser, which doesn't come with this monitor arm and is usually supplied by the manufacturer depending on how they've molded the backplate, except BenQ didn't provide that, unlike Samsung. Now, whenever I'm moving around my monitors, if I'm traveling or whatever, and you can see that I've done a little bit of that given the scratches that are on the molding of this monitor already. But this is the Samsung monitor that I have been using right along, sitting up on my desk. If you notice, there is this plate here that kind of sticks out and donuts out from the back plate of the CLG70. Now, the thing that I love about this is that this came with the monitor. So if I wanted to mount the plate, I can just put it right here on the back, screw the screws in, and then we have the quick connect that goes onto the monitor arm. Works great. BenQ needs to have something like that inside of their packaging. Now, the Mobius monitor, again, is not something that is inexpensive. This Samsung CLG70 that comes with a very nice QLED panel and this riser to allow for something like a quick VESA mount to attach to it pretty fast and easily retails for about $450 to $500. The Mobius 34-inch ultrawide monitor retails for $900 to $950 depending on which store you get it from and whether or not there's a sale. Now, I haven't put the monitor through its paces yet, and I'm very curious to see what kind of a display we get out of it. It's just that in my case, from a postural standpoint, this is something that I'm going to have to go and find an aftermarket part to be able to fit this so that I can get it mounted to the monitor arm so I can maintain good posture when I'm gaming. And it could have easily been a molded part that they included in the box for just a few bucks. Just a little bit of a nitpick. But anyway, I'm going to hop up off of the couch here and head over, and we'll put the monitor through some paces. Okay, issue number 2. While I'm wrestling with this thing, what I've noticed is while this articulates very, very nicely, one of the things that it doesn't do enough of is articulate out high enough so that you can locate where the connecting ports are without having to tip the entire monitor's arm and display and everything over. Again, because it doesn't sit high enough, I can't just get my head under there to look up and see where it is that I'm plugging things in. I'm trying to do it by feel, and it gets a little frustrating. So that hasn't been working out. So now I have to actually pull this thing forward and tip it back so that I can see underneath it in order to be able to plug everything in. So here's our HDR display. 3440 by 1440 is our preferred resolution. We can decide if we're going to use HDR 400 or not. And here we have our HDR enabled display, and we have our refresh rate set at 144 Hertz. Whether you can see that or not, I don't know. But this says 144, and here's our BenQ monitor. The refresh rate of 60, we're gonna set that to 144 Hertz and apply, saving our desktop configuration. And now let's fire up a game, see how we do. I'm gonna have to modify the resolution on this because obviously it doesn't look right. And already, I can feel the difference with the ultra-wide display and the extra room that I guess I otherwise would not have had. I mean, it feels smooth. It feels smooth. It looks pretty. We're getting some 80 FPS in town, which is always nice. Now, this looks great, except it's without FreeSync turned on. So what I want to do is go here and turn on the G-Sync setup in this monitor because it should be enabled, and we'll see how it performs. Now, one of the things that I have noticed about this display versus the Samsung display is that the color depth for this, the brightness, base level of brightness for this monitor is a little bit dimmer versus that of the Samsung display when it is in like a game mode. Now, typically what game mode means is that it kind of washes out the colors a little bit and gives you less black depth for the dark spots. Now, this feels like you have more black depth, but potentially could end up having less color dynamism. And it does feel a little bit that way. On my Samsung display, the color depth is astronomically good. Things like this area here that do appear to be a little bit brighter or almost like a charcoal gray on my Samsung display appear black. And as I'm sitting here playing this, what I've felt like, or what I've noticed, is that the contrast, the difference seems to be a little bit more dim than other monitors in its class. However, it does not detract from it feeling like and being a very, very solid gaming monitor with very, very good resolution, and it has a 1 ms response rate, which again is very good, and the pixels seem to be moving incredibly fluidly. I don't see a whole bunch of blurring or kind of dragging trails or anything like that. The pixels seem to be updating very, very well and very quickly. So let's go into a game that requires a little bit better, I guess, tracking, and we'll see how that feels. Now, as I'm loading up Back 4 Blood, the other thing that I've noted is that while it is HDR 400, the HDR is not dynamic. But that doesn't necessarily detract away from this being a pretty good gaming monitor. When it comes to gaming monitors, in my opinion, the idea is that you want the refresh rate to always be there for you, and you don't want any pixels to be left hanging. And this feels like it's doing all of those things, which is what you want. Now we'll create our run in Back 4 Blood Act 1. Just do a quick little trip and see what it looks like. Honestly, this feels really nice. In all seriousness, you can really feel the improvement of FreeSync technology with this monitor versus the monitors that came before it. It is buttery smooth. Okay, as promised, I did say that I wanted to put this through a little bit of an audio test in order to be able to see how good it sounded. And I realized that this little lapel mic is not going to end up doing justice to how the sound is coming out of this thing. However, it will give us a good enough idea. And I can tell you from just playing with it for like one quick second, this thing cranks out some noise. It is surprisingly good. Really, really surprisingly good. The unfortunate thing is that on the bottom, at the beginning of the video where I showed there was like this speaker grill, there's actually no speakers there. All of the sound fires out of the back of the monitor. Be that as it is, it being an aesthetic thing, I guess, it's still pretty cool. All right, so there are sound presets on the menu that I want to be able to, I guess, thumb through really quickly, but I'm going to end up playing a song that is on Spotify that I published myself, so that way we don't end up running into DMCA issues, called Panzer, which you can find under Onepeg on Spotify. This is what we've got. Not bad. And it has different audio modes. A little too bass heavy. Cinema. Let's turn this down a little bit because I feel like we're distorting. So the woofer's getting driven a little bit too hard. That sounds pretty good. I know it's not translating well, probably. Sounds good. So as audio goes coming out of a monitor, that is premium sound. That is surprisingly good. Now, I probably won't ever personally use it because most gamers that I know, especially guys that like me play games for a living, I think that I would just stick to using my Audio-Technica headphones. But if somebody had this in like their dorm room and wanted to watch a movie, or if they had it in their bedroom of their apartment and wanted to watch a movie instead of having their headphones or earbuds in or whatever, wanted to use this as a cinema display, fantastic purchase. In my opinion, this is worth the $1,000 price tag. Of course, there are some quirks, some things that you would like to see them do differently, but as displays go, this is a really, really nice one. Really nice. So final impression, as you can see, my Samsung monitor is still sitting over there on the couch. I did have to do a little bit of modification to the monitor's screen in terms of its brightness and contrast and stuff like that, and kind of punch it up a little bit in order for it to be what it is that I wanted it to be. I do not like that it sits as low as it does, and I will have to get a riser in order to be able to, I guess, mount this in a place where I feel like I'm not having to arch my back in order to be able to watch what it is that I'm doing. However, as monitors go, this one performs extremely well.
All in all, though, I don't want to take anything away from BenQ. This MOBIUZ monitor is sick. It performs very, very well. Even if it is a little bit dim, you add a little bit of brightness to the display, and it sings. It's really, really nice. Anyway, that's what I have for this review. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. If I missed something, this is the first one of these that I've done ever. So thanks to BenQ for sending me this. I just wanted to give you guys something honest. Hope you dig it, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.